Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be on for the next hour. We have a lot to go over. If you do have a question, please press 00 on the keypad on your phone. We're going to be answering people's questions. You get to go on the call live with your question if you want. So press 0 if you have a question, and press 7. Oh, no, we're not collecting emails tonight. Never mind on that one. We're going to be just pressing 0 to try and get as many questions up as we can. So don't be shy. If you've got some questions, don't hesitate to press that dial. Press 00 on the keypad on your phone. Again, this is going to go for the course of an hour. We've got a lot of survey questions to ask. We've got a bunch, so your opinion really matters. You do get to vote on matters one way or the other, and we hope you will take us up on that opportunity. So one last time, welcome everybody. Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to be on for the next hour or thereabouts. If you do have a question, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone, and we'll get your question up as soon as we can. As we go through the course of all the stuff we have to talk about tonight, 0 is the way to get that question in. You get to go live with it if you wouldn't mind. So, Paul, I'm going to hand this call off to you, if I might, and in your opening comments and any other comments immediately that are after, if you can integrate, say, press 0 for questions, that'd be great. Paula, take it away, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paula Dawson, and I'm the Director of Education for the Halton Catholic District School Board. Thank you for joining us. We invited you to take part in this telephone town hall because we want to gather your feedback on our budget for the next school year. In the email you received to invite you to this town hall, we provided you with links to our budget strategy session reports that were shared with the Board of Trustees on April 4th and April 18th. Tonight, there'll be an opportunity for you to respond to a poll about our budget priorities and ask questions of our trustees. If you'd like to ask a question during the call, please press 0 on your telephone keypad at any time. At the end of this call, there'll also be an opportunity for you to leave us a voicemail message so you can share additional information with us. I'll now invite the chair of our board, Diane Rabenda, to introduce you to the other trustees and to provide you with some brief background information about the budget process before we jump right to our polls so we can begin taking your questions.
Thank you, Director Dawson, and good evening, parents. My name is Diane Rabenda. I am the Milton trustee and current chair of the board. We are very pleased to be holding this telephone town hall tonight. We recognize that your time is precious, and we are grateful that you made time in your very busy schedules to participate in this call. With me tonight are my fellow trustees sitting with me around the table. I will ask them to introduce themselves.
Susan Trice, Burlington trustee for Wards 4 and 5 and vice chair of the board.
Anthony Danko, Oakville trustee.
Arlene Antomazzi, Burlington trustee for Wards 1 and 2.
Helena Carabella, Oakville trustee.
Paul Marai, Oakville trustee.
Anthony Quinn, Oakville trustee. Mark Rowe, Halton Hills trustee.
Also joining us tonight from a different location is Jane Michael, Burlington trustee for Wards 3 and 6. As Director Dawson mentioned, we are here tonight to gather the input of our parent community to help our Board of Trustees make decisions about our school board budget for the upcoming school year. One of the roles of an elected Board of Trustees, as set out in the Education Act, is to approve a budget and monitor its implementation. The Halton Catholic District School Board maintains a strong financial position, and we take great pride in being fiscally responsible and allocating resources efficiently and effectively to focus on our students. Resources, however, are limited as to how they can be spent. This is also compounded by the fact that our board receives the lowest amount of funding per pupil amongst all publicly funded school boards in Ontario. In light of these challenges, our board must make decisions each year on where to direct these limited resources. This year's budget process began last November through a province-wide consultation held by the Ministry of Education. As part of our budgetary process, we are consulting with the members of our community to gather feedback, which will help to guide and inform the budget process. That provides you with some basic background about our budget process, and there is certainly more information available on our board's website at www.hcdsb.org. We will now proceed to the poll and to your questions. I will ask Director Dawson to explain how this will work.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the recent trustee budget strategy session, staff identified a number of budget priority areas for the 2017-2018 school year. We have 8 quick poll questions about these budget priority areas, which we will present to you one at a time. Please rate the importance of each budget priority area using the numbers on your touch-tone phone as follows. Press 1 if you feel it's very important. Press 2 if it's somewhat important, and press 3 if it's not important. And in between each poll question, we will answer questions you may have for our trustees.
I will now ask Vice Chair Trites to share the first poll question.
Poll question number 1. One of the areas identified by staff as a budget priority for the 2017-2018 school year was maintaining and renewing our schools. Our school board prides itself on the condition of our schools because we believe that clean, safe, and efficient schools have a strong positive impact on student achievement. As schools get older, they become more costly to operate and maintain. The Ministry of Education recently eliminated funding for schools that have empty classrooms. Adding to that, the funding our board receives for school renewal and school condition improvement is considerably lower than the provincial average, which makes it more and more challenging to continue maintaining our schools to the current standard. Using the numbers on your touch-tone phone, please rate the importance of maintaining and renewing our schools. Number 1, for very important. Number 2, somewhat important. Number 3, not important. Again, number 1, very important. Number 2, somewhat important. Number 3, not important.
At this time, we would like to open up our lines to receive any questions you may have. I see we have a few in the queue waiting. Again, a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press 0 on your telephone keypad.
We have some people that have come in and pressed 00 on the keypad on their phone, but I don't see the questions come up on my screen just as yet. I'm just the moderator. My name's Kurt, by the way. There'll be some more questions coming in a second, so don't be shy. Do press 00 on the keypad on your phone, and let's get those questions in. And my suggestion is, while that's happening with our people that take down these questions, perhaps we should go to the second question if that's okay. Is that okay?
Yes, we'll do that.
I will now ask Trustee Danko to share the poll question number 2.
Thank you, Diane. Another area identified by staff as a budget priority for the 2017-2018 school year was continuing our commitment to faith formation initiatives. Faith formation is at the core of the board's values. Beyond classroom religious instruction, the board supports a variety of programs, including retreats and special events, so students and staff have opportunities to experience a Catholic learning environment that is rooted in gospel values and the Ontario Catholic Graduate School expectations. Using the numbers on your touch-tone phone, please rate the importance of continuing our commitment to faith formation initiatives. Press 1 if you think this is very important. Press 2 if you think it is somewhat important. Or press 3 if this is not important. Again, the question is to rate the importance of continuing our commitment to faith formation initiatives. Please press 1 if you think this is very important. Press 2 if you think this is somewhat important. Or press 3 if you do not think this is important.
Thank you. Again, questions are forthcoming. I don't see any. Oh, there we got one. We got one in just a second. We'll get to that. But let's go to, if we could, first to poll number or survey number 3, if we can, and then we'll get a couple more questions in. So who's doing survey number 3, please?
I will now ask Trustee Ian Tomasi to share the poll question number 3.
Thank you, Diane. Another area identified by staff as a budget priority for the 2017-2018 school year is maintaining and enhancing an information technology, IT, infrastructure to support student learning. The information technology budget includes the hardware infrastructure costs, such as Wi-Fi, and the technical support for all computer technology at the board. Reliable access to technology is an integral part of the current teaching and learning practice in education. As our board grows and technology in the classroom changes, additional investment is required. Again, using the numbers on your touch-tone phone, please rate the importance of maintaining and enhancing our IT infrastructure to support student learning. So that would be 1, as very important, 2, somewhat important, 3, not important. And to repeat again, using the numbers on your touch-tone phone, please rate the importance of maintaining and enhancing our IT infrastructure to support student learning. 1, very important. 2, somewhat important. 3, not important.
All right, let's take a question from the audience. We do have some that have come in thus far. Let's take Maria. Maria, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Maria, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to know what schools do they plan on closing down and why?
Can you repeat that again, please, Maria?
Why are they closing? Which schools are they planning on closing and why?
Maria, what part of the system do you live in?
Where do you live? What area do you live in, Maria?
I live in Burlington.
Okay. This time we're not looking at closing any schools.
Okay. Well, with that question's been answered. Let's go on to polling question number 4, if we could. Who's going to bring up polling question number 4, please?
I will now ask Trustee Carabella to share the poll question number 4.
Another area identified by staff as a budget priority for the 2017-2018 school year is ongoing support of students with exceptionalities. The Halton Catholic District School Board makes every effort to provide programs and services to support pupils with exceptionalities in accordance with its inclusion policy. As is the case across the province, in order to meet the current needs of students with exceptionalities in our district, we have had to spend more to provide programs and supports than we actually receive in special education funding from the Ministry of Education. Using the numbers on your touch-tone phone, please rate the importance of the ongoing support of students with exceptionalities. Press 1 for very important, 2, somewhat important, and 3, not important. Again, the question, please rate the importance of the ongoing support of students with exceptionalities. 1 for very important, press 2, somewhat important, and press 3 for not important.
Thank you so much for that. Let's take another question from the audience. Frank, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Frank, please go ahead with your question.
Yes, thank you. Why are we the least funded, and how do we change that?
Perhaps we'll get...
We'll get our treasurer.
Trustee to answer that question.
Hi, this is Roxana Nagoy. I'm the Superintendent of Business. We have been historically the lowest funded per pupil board, or one of the lowest in the province. A lot of the factors have to do with how the funding formula is a one-size-fits-all type of formula, and it looks at not just enrollment but also demographic factors. It looks at the conditions of our facilities, which in our case we are fortunate enough that we have a lot of newer schools, but also we have been maintaining our older schools a lot, on average, better than the province. So there's a lot of different factors. We also do not receive some of the grants that are for geography or rural schools support and so forth, and it's based on our demography as well. So the capital funding as well is lower because of our facilities. So overall, we seem to be getting, for the past 3 years in a row, the lowest per pupil funding in the province.
And maybe I'll follow up on behalf of Frank and say perhaps Director Dawson could tell us what our plan is to address this. I know that we are about to plan meetings with our provincial representatives.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Quinn. We are planning to meet with our MPPs, Board of Trustees, and staff to explain and share those reasons with them so that we are looked at again for funding and that we're not the lowest board in the province.
Thank you for your question. We are now going to move on to question number 5, and I will ask Trustee Marai to discuss that, please.
Great, thanks, Diane. This is an issue we get a lot of questions about, and there's another priority that staff have mentioned, and that's maintaining or expanding specialized programming at our board. And it recognizes that students have differing interests and aspirations, and that students learn differently. So to help students achieve their full potential, our board offers a broad range of programming. Options such as advanced placement, that's AP, the International Baccalaureate, that's IB, French immersion, specialist high skills major programs, and the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship programs, OYAP, as well as alternative education and e-learning. So using your touch-tone phone again, which I'm sure you're used to now, please rate the importance of maintaining and or expanding these specialized programs. Thank you. And number 1 again is very important. Number 2 is somewhat important, and number 3 is not important.
Okay, do we have any questions on the line, Kurt?
We do. Let's take Chanthouse next if we can. Chanthouse, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi, my question pertains to the first area that we were looking at, maintaining and renewing our schools. Why is it that the ministry eliminated funding for the schools that had empty classrooms? And did they just eliminate funding for the kids that would have been in those classrooms, or did they eliminate funding for the schools in total?
Thank you for your question. Typically there was a funding for what is called a top-up funding for underutilized schools. As the ministry was looking through ways to streamline the funding and direct more funding for students in the classrooms, one of the strategies that was provincially introduced was to eliminate the top-up funding for empty pupil classrooms, and just in support of directing that funding towards more towards the students in the classroom. So that funding would have covered, for our board, it's about $800,000 or more per year, and it would have assisted with the operations of that school, grounds maintenance, repairs, and so forth, for the that percentage of the school that is with a declining enrollment, so it's not actually does not have pupils in those classrooms. So it was a ministry-wide initiative to streamline the funding, and it did result in our board losing at least $800,000 on an annual basis.
Thank you, Roxana. I will now ask Trustee Quinn to share the poll question at number 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will let our listeners know that they do have the opportunity to interact with their own provincial representatives on these issues. So while we here at the board are happy to answer your questions, provincial ministers will also be willing to hear your concerns. Poll question number 6. Another area identified by staff as a budget priority for 2017-18 is eliminating transportation for optional programming. Our board currently shares transportation with the Halton District School Board through a consortium called the Halton Student Transportation Services. This consortium has identified a number of cost savings while still providing safe student transportation. As increasing costs of transportation continue to exceed the funding allocation, our board expects it will run a deficit in this area in 2018. One of the options that staff have proposed is the elimination of transportation for optional programming. And I'll ask the director, what is an example of optional programming?
Optional programming are those where French immersion, both extended or for early French immersion would be one of the optional programs that we're considering.
Thank you. So using the numbers on your touchtone phone, please rate the importance of eliminating transportation for optional programming. Press number 1 for very important, number 2 for somewhat important, and 3 for not important. Thank you. I'll read that again. For the elimination of transportation for optional programming, press 1 for very important, 2 for somewhat important, or 3 for not important.
Thank you.
We can take a question.
Another question is going to be from Christopher. Christopher, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Christopher, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, my question goes to funding for students who are First Nation themselves as First Nations. We are wondering about expanding the programs offered at the high school for the kids to be able to continue in learning about their heritage now that we've had to leave the reservations for job opportunities. And the second part of the question is we also have a child with Down syndrome, and we are very afraid with all of the cutbacks that now that he's starting high school, he will be affected by not being able to have the supports that he needs.
Okay, I'll take your question in 2 parts, okay, Christopher? First of all, we are working to expand our Native Studies courses in our high schools. So that's one thing that you asked about, so that our Native heritage is shared not only amongst students who would identify as Indigenous, but also with our non-Indigenous students. And secondly, we welcome all children in our schools regardless of their capabilities, and that's what we are all about at Halton Catholic.
I think we're time for another question, polling question.
Okay. Okay, I will now ask Trustee Rowe to share the poll question number 7.
Thank you. Another area identified by staff as a budget priority for the 2017-2018 school year is maintaining schools and workplaces that are safe and welcoming for all. As a Catholic school district, we understand the importance of creating a sense of belonging for all members of our community, students, staff, parents, and partners. Students are most successful when they feel they belong, when they feel safe, and when they are fully engaged in authentic and relevant learning experiences. This has been articulated in our strategic plan through our pillar of belonging, and we have committed to this priority by setting high standards and expectations for all to model positive, inclusive, and respectful behavior across each of our schools and workplaces. Using the numbers on your touch tone, please rate the importance of maintaining schools and workplaces that are safe and welcoming for all. Press 1 for very important, 2 somewhat important, and 3 not important. So once again, please rate the importance of maintaining schools and workplaces that are safe and welcoming for all by pressing 1 for very important, 2 for somewhat important, and 3 for not important.
Thank you.
Okay, we could take a couple questions, Kurt.
You bet. We do have a bunch. By the way, if you do have a last-minute question, you can press 0 to try and get into the queue. I'm going to take Sandy next if I can. Sandy, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Sandy, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thanks everybody. I just had a quick question about ongoing faith formation. I've had a couple of my children come home throughout the years with respect to some of these New Age yoga kind of groups that they have at the schools. And I'm just wondering if we cannot allocate some of those funds rather to yoga classes or yoga things after school to more faith formation, more Christian Catholic groups, such as Conquest or the Conquest Youth Ministry. I believe that's for the boys, and they have another one for the girls. And that's really my question, is allocating the funds to ongoing formation for Christian youth ministry.
Okay, this is Sandy. Yes. Sandy, anything that's after school, perhaps is a school council allocated, or they're bringing in a special person to lead in yoga, or we are promoting Christian meditation with our teachers and our students during the school day, but also your idea about after school Christian groups, we can certainly take that down and include that in our recommendations for this budget.
We have. Do you want to go to the final polling question, or do you want to take more questions from the live audience?
Take another question first.
Let's take Sharon next if we can. Sharon, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Sharon, please go ahead with your question.
Hi there. I may have missed one of the polling questions that touched on this already when I was actually giving my question, but it was regarding the bus funding for specialized programs such as French immersion. I was really surprised to hear how much goes into busing, and I had concerns thinking how many other kids could benefit from such a program if there was another way to find funding for the actual busing portion of the program. It was more than 50% of the budget, if I can recall correctly, and I thought that's just getting kids to and from, and I know how full those programs are. There's always such a wait list. Is there any way to get sort of specialized funding specifically for busing to allow more kids to attend?
There is no
I lost you. We lost the connection to the office one way or the other. We're going to have them redial in, and somebody must have hit the redial the call in, please. Redial, please. Okay. Anyway, sorry, you just have to listen to me as they dial this call in. Sharon, they'll answer your question in just a second. We really appreciate everybody's participation. Please stand by as they dial this call back in. I think they hung up on themselves somehow. So it does happen one way or the other on the whole thing. So let me just send this to them and tell them that they need to redial. Anyhow, if you do have a question, they will be back shortly. Please press 00 on the keypad on your phone. We hope you found this call interesting thus far. We've gotten a lot of polling questions in thus far. It's been great, and we got one more that we're going to be asking quite soon. And so let's see how this happens one way or the other on the whole call, one way or the other. Other things that we can do on this, and Sharon, I hope we got that question answered. Let's do the polling question that we did, the last one, to get that one in if we possibly can. And the question goes like this for our last survey question. We know that the parent involvement is instrumental to student achievement. And let me cue it up here. We know that parent involvement is instrumental to student achievement. As a board member of the trustees, we value feedback received from parents and other members of our community about issues that pertain to the board. Using the numbers on your touch tone, and this is different than the other questions we did before. There are 5 possibilities. Using the numbers on the touch tone, please choose your preferred method of receiving communication to learn more about what's happening on our board. And so press 1 if it's social media like Twitter or Facebook. Press 2 if it's emails. Press 3 if it's webinars. Press 4 if it's board trustee newsletters, or press 5 parent information nights. Again, the question is, using the numbers on your touch tone, please choose the preferred method of receiving communication to learn more about what's happening at our board. Press 1 for social media, Twitter and Facebook. Press 2 for email. Press 3 for webinars. Press 4 for board trustee newsletters, or press 5 for parent information nights. and we'll get those numbers in. Looks like the overwhelming way people like to be communicated with is via email. And unfortunately, fortunately, we do have a lot of email addresses one way or the other on the whole thing. Again, I'm sorry for the delay that the call has, that we've lost our connection to the school board. This is the moderator, and I'm kind of filling in and buying a moment as they dial back in, and here they are. Just to catch you up, school board, I see you've dialed back in. We did ask the final survey question as we were waiting you to join in, and you are answering questions from Sharon, and Sharon's question was specialized programs for busing and French immersion. Can we separate busing? It takes too much money. Go ahead, please.
Oh, hi there. In terms of funding for transportation for specialized programs, there is no funding within the grant for student needs. So there isn't any support for transporting students that are out of boundary or cross boundary. However, a program such as French immersion, the funding, there is additional funding based on the enrollment in the program. So as a program like that would grow, if that is feasible within the system, that will generate additional revenue to support the materials, to support additional training, to support additional staffing, and so forth. However, the incremental increase in revenue isn't enough to cover the cost of the incremental transportation. So the way we have costed the transportation piece for French immersion, both early French immersion and extended French immersion, is to take out all those pupils in the program that would otherwise have been eligible for transportation had they gone to their home school, even though they would have gone further. So the bus ride for French immersion would have been a little bit higher. We didn't take that into account, so we just eliminated everybody who would otherwise have been eligible for transportation within their home school and only looked at the incremental cost. So what you see there in transportation, over $500,000 for the two programs, that is just the incremental cross-boundary transportation that we do not get funding for within the transportation allocation.
All right, Samia is next with her question. I hope I've got that right. Did I pronounce your name right? Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting, and say your name correctly for me and go ahead with your question, please.
Hi there. My name is Saima. Thank you so much for giving me the chance. My question is, I live in Milton, and I see the growing community, and the population is growing here, but we really need schools. And I don't see any more schools building here. What is the budget for the following years for future of the government? Because the schools are getting overpopulated, and it's really affecting. So my question is for the budget for new schools of the government. Thank you very much.
Hi, Saima. Thanks for your question. Yes, we are well aware of the growing population in Milton, and yes, it's difficult to build the schools fast enough for the people who are moving in. We do have approval to build a new school for the 2018-19 school year. It's an elementary school, and we also know down the road we're going to need a third secondary school, which we will be applying to the Ministry of Education for funding for that. And we're also planning to seek approval to build an extension on our Bishop Redding. But all of these have to be approved by the government. So just know that we have one elementary school that we have recently received approval for, which we hope to be built within the next year.
Let's take another question if we can. It's from Jerry. Jerry, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Please go ahead with your question, Jerry.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My question is in regards to the future of Catholic education in Ontario. More than once over the last number of years, we have heard that our Catholic education system is coming under threat of effectively being dissolved and absorbed or merged into the public school system. Wanted to hear from the board, how real is that threat? What is the provincial government's position on Catholic education, and what are we as a Catholic community doing about it?
Thank you, Jerry. Just as recently as a couple of weeks ago, we were at an event with Minister Hunter, the Education Minister, who promised that under that government there was no indication of dissolving the Catholic school district and amalgamating with the public school district. However, obviously, I guess that depends on the government in power at the time. So right now, what we're focusing on as a district is to ensure that we are providing faith experiences for our students and our staff to maintain our publicly funded Catholic presence in the province of Ontario. We can do another question, Kurt.
And thank you. And thank you so much for that. Let's take another question right away if we possibly can. Let's take Efren if we can. Efren, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Efren, go ahead with your question if you would, please.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening. My question is related to the third questions about the IT spending. Have you considered open source software and solutions for license reduction?
Hi, Efren.
Hi, Efren. I know that our IT department is always seeking for efficiencies, and we do strive to maintain in terms of doing collaborative spend on all the solutions that we do purchase, including IT. I can't say for sure whether or not that's been an option that we have pursued or not. It would be one of the things I would have to check back and perhaps address in when we at the May 16th meeting as we provide the feedback on this survey. But we are looking at various options within the IT department to be more efficiently and looking for solutions that cost less and offer more of a variety and additional support throughout the system.
And just a reminder, Efren, you can always leave a voicemail at the end. We'll leave that option for you, and we'll include your question in our feedback and the answer in our feedback to trustees.
Thank you so much. Let's take another question if we can. Let's take it from Lisa. Lisa, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Lisa, please go ahead with your question.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking it's more of a comment than a question. But I'm just concerned about the high school children today and the lack of exercise. I know we put a lot of emphasis on electronics, and of course I agree, very important. But I think it's about balance, and I also think that the gym classes, phys ed, have you ever considered having 4 years of mandatory 4 credits for the gym for phys ed? I think it's about balance, and we're not teaching them about going forward into adulthood and being healthy. That's it. That's my comment, but thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Lisa. Just some information for you. Our Ministry of Education dictates the number and the required courses for secondary students, and unfortunately, or fortunately for some, students are only mandated to take phys ed in grade 9. So the options are left open to students in grades 10 to 12. However, schools do try to run co-curricular and other clubs where healthy living and leisure activities and sports are also available to students who may not want to take a phys ed credit.
Let's take another question if we may. Debbie. Debbie, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Debbie, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you very much. I wanted to ask about what kind of retreats did the staff have in mind for faith formation? Would it be good to have something that's more community building for our students, more community involvement?
Oh, are you saying, Debbie, like social justice activities as part of the retreat? Yes, I do believe our secondary schools and even our elementary schools do participate in social justice activities. It's all about seeking the will of the community and what students are interested in. So that obviously is an option available to students.
Tamara's next. Tamara, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Tamara, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm interested to know what kind of funding is established for greening initiatives and eco club initiatives. I know I spoke to my daughter's principal, and he said that there was actually a project to set up an outdoor garden. But I'm wondering if that's something that the Halton Catholic School Board is considering, regionally, or if it's on a school-by-school basis.
Anything ecological or environmental is usually up to the school community and at the interest of students, but we do have many of our schools who qualify as an eco school, which has to meet certain standards of projects that they're involved in the schools. And they are sometimes funded centrally and also through the funds that parents are donating to schools, but it's all about the interest that the students have, whether it be for recycling or whether they're interested in gardening. It's all generated by student interest.
Natasha's next. Natasha, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Please go ahead, Natasha.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm just asking questions in regards to the exceptionality mandate, and I just want to know more information about it and what are the eligibility and how can we get more information as parents regarding having your kids assessed.
Normally, if your child has an exceptionality or if you're looking to have your child assessed, you would meet with your school principal, your teachers, and the special education resource teacher at the school to begin the process of various testing, and then whether that would be psychometrical testing, and then there would be some programming put in place for the child once identification is confirmed. Did that answer your question?
It does to some degree. I think I will follow up with the school in regards to how I can get more information that's outside of this conversation, but thank you.
Yep. We also, just to follow up, we also have a special education advisory committee if you also wanted to connect centrally with that have board of trustees on that committee, as well as representatives from the various agencies in our community. But also, yes, your principal and your special ed resource teacher at your school would be the best way to contact and get that process going.
Let's take Rose next if we can. Rosemarie, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Rosemarie, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. My question goes back to the issue with the Halton bus transportation. I would like to know why, please, the eligibility for the bus is only done by grade. I do know that before I moved into this region, while I was in Peel, they would, the criteria for busing for students would not only be as per how far you live from the school, but also by your grade. So smaller students who are in the JK or SK will have a lot of those students who will be eligible for busing because they are the ones that we feel like they needed the most. So why is Halton the criteria for your busing only done by the distance from your home, by distance from of your house from of the school from your home, rather than the distance plus the grade of the child? Thank you.
Okay, just so you know, we do not bus by grade. We bus by distance from the home to the school. That's part of our policy. So an elementary student who lives 1.6 kilometers or further away would qualify for transportation, and a secondary student who lives 3.2 kilometers away from the school would qualify for transportation. We also have an option if there are empty seats that are not being used on the bus by students who actually do qualify for transportation. There's a certain time in the school year when we can confirm empty seats, usually about October, and then we can release those seats to students who may want to take advantage of busing, but we do not bus by the grade level.
Let's change it up a little bit and take a question from Melinda. Melinda, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Melinda, please go ahead with your question.
Good evening. Thank you so much. My big concern was both my children are electronic children, and I do have tutors from the public board. My son has learning disabilities, and my concern is the apps that they're using for the schools are so much more advanced. The read and write, the text-to-speech. I've purchased them myself and got my son his own Chromebook. But my concerns as he reaches to high school with the technology and the apps being so far behind, I may be forced to have to stick him over to the public board if the Catholic system doesn't, if it's not raised. And so I'm seeing such a difference in, especially in the electronic side and the apps. It's quite concerning. I really love the faith system, and that's where I want my child. But concerning with the electronics with both my children, you know, I am concerned for the future.
So you're saying you have a tutor from the other district that incorporates different types of apps when they tutor your children that aren't available in our school district. Is that what you're saying?
I wanted to find a tutor. I was told that...
Melinda, she asked you a question. Melinda, answer her question if you could, please.
Yeah, Melinda, if you could maybe identify the apps by name.
Oh, absolutely. It's called the Read to Write, and it's a text-to-speech, and it's specifically used for children with dyslexia. Mm-hmm. And the Catholic, like the actual public board, each teacher, they can put as many students as they want on it. For me, when I pay for my children, I have to pay $145 a year for each child, and because with both my children, with their issues that they have, especially my son was told that he had to have a speech-to-text. And this particular one is so good. It's so much better than the Dragon or any of the other ones that we've used. It's just so accurate. It's incredible. And it would be incredible for children with dyslexia or issues with spelling.
Okay, your thoughts.
Okay, Melinda, we'll take that back and to our special ed department so they can investigate further if that's okay.
Well, thank you, Melinda. Let's take another question if we can. Let's take Kristen. Kristen, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Kristen, go ahead with your question if you would, please.
Thank you, first of all, for allowing me to do this. In prior years, I'm just curious, why is it that parents aren't able to come together, or, you know, individual parents who come up with ideas for fundraising on their own in the community to help out the board? Is it capped at a specific amount, or, like, you know, say there was a very good reference to a yoga program after school, but it just even education in general, infrastructure, whatever. If parents want to fundraise, are we allowed to approach the school board with our idea and do so, or are we not?
I'm going to just start it off, Kristen, and then I'm going to hand it over to our treasurer. There are rules that surround any fundraising when parents do these things, these wonderful things for their schools. For example, funds cannot be raised to buy textbooks. Funds cannot be raised for buying infrastructure or improving the facilities itself. Those are areas where the board is expected to maintain and upgrade. However, there are options for parents like purchasing, putting money towards a peace garden or a vegetable garden, or some extra equipment for recess, or specialized speakers or guest speakers for the students, or some activities or clubs. Those are the kinds of things that parents raise money for, but the other ones about textbooks and facilities and infrastructure are meant to be done by the school board budget. We can take one more, Kurt.
I'm going to take one more question, and then everybody prepares for final comments. So think about what you want to say, in other words. All right. Let's take James next, if we can. James, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. James, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you all. So my question is pertaining to budget allocation. I wanted to know what goes into determining which schools get what green dollars for the year. If you can share that with us, that would be great.
So I will attempt to answer the question from a couple of perspectives. There are operating funds for the school, which we call school budgets, that are determined for every school based on their size, so number of pupils, number of staff. So that will be their operating budget for supplies, for printing, and so forth. There's also board-wide, we do cover the cost for maintaining and operating the facility itself, so repairs and maintenance to the building, the groundskeeping, all the salaries and the staffing are based on ratios. So all of that is part of the central budget. But the actual school budget, which is the operating budget of the school, is determined based on the school's enrollment and the number of staffing at that location. Does that answer your question?
In a way, but it's good. I will leave it as that.
Okay, we can do one more. One more, Kurt.
Not a problem at all. Let's take Diana. Diana, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Diana, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I live in Georgetown South, and there's a lot of new development, people moving into the area, so there's quite the population growth. And in the past year, we've had 6 portables move from St. Catharines of Siena over to St. Bridget. It didn't really alleviate the problem. It just moved students from one area to another. I'm wondering, what's the goal in dealing with this population growth? I've heard that there's also the possibility that there might be a middle school that might be built. I'm just wondering, would there be a full elementary school? Is it a middle school? Is there any plan at all?
Tim Overholt, one of the superintendents. Georgetown and Halton Hills was my family's schools last year, and we did a pupil accommodation review last year, as well as a boundary change, which moved some of our students from St. Catharines over to St. Bridget to help alleviate the crowding at one school, but certainly South Georgetown is definitely an area that the population is increasing. With our pupil accommodation process, we did go through one where we were looking at building a new school up in the north part, which would have helped alleviate some of the crowding. That did go through to our ministry, however, it was denied at that point in terms of the funding for that. Long term, we are looking at Vision Georgetown, where we do have the potential of a couple of sites at that area. Until then, we do know that there will be some portables in, for sure, St. Bridget and St. Catharines, but we do believe that our projections at this point in time will allow us to do that until we get those schools in the Vision Georgetown area.
As we get to our finish line, I think it's time for people to make final comment. I do want to remind listeners, though, whether you got a question by pressing 0 in or you just had one in mind, you can stay to the end of this call and leave a message, but you have to stay at the very end of the call, about 5 more minutes, and leave us your name, your phone number, email address so we can get back to you if that's what you want happen, or you can just leave a comment. But we do want to contact you, so do give us that information, that callback information if you could. Who wants to start off, please?
We're going to have Susan make some final remarks this evening, Kurt.
That concludes our budget telephone town hall. Thank you for making time for us in your very busy schedules. Your feedback is very important to us and will be a tremendous help to our trustees as we consider next year's budget. At the end of this call, if you stay on the line, there will be an opportunity to leave us a message, whether it be a question you did not get an opportunity to ask, to give us a more detailed response to any one of the questions you answered in the poll, or simply to provide any other comments you would like us to consider. We'll close with a prayer, the Hail Mary, and if you'll join me in the sign of our faith, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thank you again. Good night.